Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to read Hebrews 4 to 9, Proverbs 15, and Psalm 83. Let's get started. Therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us fear lest any of you should seem to have failed to reach it. For good news came to us just as to them, but the message they heard did not benefit them, because they were not united by faith with those who listened. For we who have believed enter that rest, and as he has said, as the sword might rest, they shall not enter my rest, though his works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he has somewhere spoken of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again in this passage he said, they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore it remains for some to enter it, and those who formerly received the good news failed to enter because of disobedience, again he appointed 7 days, today, saying through David so long afterward, and the words already quoted, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart, for as Joshua has given them rest, God would not have spoken of another day later on. So then, it remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever has entered God's rest is also rested from his works as God did from his. Let us therefore strive to enter that rest, so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and spirit, of joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intention of the heart. And no creature is hidden from his sight, but all are naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God. Let us hold fast in our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. And let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sin. He can deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, since he himself is best beset with weaknesses. Because of this, he is obligated to offer sacrifice for his own sins, just as he does for those of the people. And no one takes his honor for himself, only one called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, who was appointed by him who said to him, you are my son, today I have begotten you. As he says also in another place, you are a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek. In the days of the flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications, lest with loud cries and tears to him who is able to save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverence. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered, and being made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation to all who obey, being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. About this we have much to say. It is hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. Although by this time you ought to be teachers. You need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food, for everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. But solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by a constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Therefore, let us leave the elementary doctrine of Christ and go on to maturity, not laying again a foundation of repentance from dead works and faith toward God, and instruction about washing, the laying on of hands, the resurrection of the dead, and the eternal judgment. And this we will do if God permits. Now, for it is impossible, in the case of those who have once been enlightened, who have tasted the heavenly gift, and have shared in the Holy Spirit, and have tasted the goodness of the Word of God, and the powers of the age to come, and then have fallen away, to restore them again to repentance, since they are crucifying once again the Son of God to their own harm, and holding him up to contempt. The land that has drunk the rain that often falls on it, and produces a crop useful to those for whose sake it is cultivated, receives a blessing from God. That if it bears thorns and thistles, it is worthless too, and near to being cast, and its end is to be burned. Though we speak in this way, yet in your case, beloved, we feel sure of those things that belong to salvation. For God is not unjust, so as to overlook your work and the love that you have shown for his name in serving the saints, that you still do. And we desire each one of you to share the same earnestness, to have the full assurance of hope until the end, so that you may not be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. For when God made a promise to Abraham, since he had no one greater by whom to swear, by him to swear. He swore by himself, saying, "Surely I will bless you and multiply you." And thus Abraham, having patiently waited, obtained the promise. Will people swear by something greater than themselves? And all their disputes and oaths is final for confirmation. So in God is desire to show more convincingly to the hearers of the promise the unchangeable character of this purpose, and he guaranteed with an oath that by two unchangeable characters of his purpose, he guaranteed so that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, I who fled for refuge may have strong encouragement to hold us to the hope set before us. We have this as a sure surface anchor of the soul, a hope that enters into the inner place behind the curtain. Jesus, the foreigner, on our behalf, having become high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. This Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, and to whom Abraham apportioned a tenth part of everything. He is first by translation of his name, King of Righteousness, and then he is also King of Salem, and that is King of Peace. And that was without father or mother or genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but resembling the Son of God, he continues a priest forever. See how great this man was, to whom Abraham the patriarch gave a tenth of the spoils. And those descendants of Levi who received the priestly office have a commandment in the law to take tithe from the people, as from their brother. These also are descended from Abraham. But this man who does not have his descendant received tithes from Abraham and blessed him who had the promises. It is beyond dispute that the inferior is blessed by the superior. In the one case, tithes are received by a multiple man. In the other case, by one of whom it is testified that he lives. One might even say that Levi himself, who receives tithes, paid tithes through Abraham, for he was still in the line of his ancestor by Melchizedek manner. Now, if perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, what further need would there be for another priest to arise after the order of Melchizedek, rather than one named after the order of Aaron? But when there is change in the priesthood, there is necessarily a change in the law as well. For the one of whom these things are spoken belonged to another tribe, from which no one has ever served at the altar. But it is evident that our Lord was descended from Jesus, and in connection that the tribe says nothing about priests. This becomes even more evident when another priest arises in the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become a priest, not on the basis of a legal requirement concerning bodily neither how an instructor will lie, but who has witnessed of him. You are a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek. For on the one hand, the former commandment is set aside because of its weakness and uselessness. But on the other hand, a better hope is introduced, through which we draw near to God. And it was not without an oath, for those who formerly became priests were made such without an oath. But this one was made a priest with an oath by the one who said to him, "The Lord has sworn, and he would not change his mind. You are a priest forever." This makes Jesus the guarantor of a better covenant. The former priests were many now, because they were prevented by death from continuing office. He holds his priesthood permanently, because he continues forever. Consequently, he is able to save to the uttermost those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. But it was indeed fitting that we should have such a high priest, holy, innocent, unstained, unseparated from sinners, and exalted above the heavens. He has no need, not like those high priests, to offer sacrifices daily, first for his own sins and then for those of the people, since he did this once and for all when he offered up himself. The law appoints men in their weakness as high priests, but the word of the oath, which came later than the law, appoints a son who is being made perfect forever. Now the point in what we are saying is this: he is such a high priest, one who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the Majesty in heaven, a minister in the holy places, in the true tent that the Lord has set up, not man. Well, every high priest is appointed to offer gifts and sacrifices. Thus it is necessary for those priests to have something to offer. Now, if we were on earth, would he not be a priest at all, since there are priests who offer gifts according to the law? They sell and copy in the shadow of the heavenly things. When Moses was about to erect the tent, he was instructed by God, saying, See that you make everything according to the pattern that I was showing you on the mountain. But as it is, Christ has obtained a mystery that is much more excellent than the old, as the covenant he meditates is better, since he is enacted on better promises. But if that first covenant had been faultless, there would have been no occasion to look for a second. Well, we find fault when he said, "Behold, the Jews are coming, declares the Lord, and I will establish a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not like the covenant I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So they did not continue my covenant, and so I showed no concern for them, declares the Lord. No, this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, Know the Lord. And they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. And I will be merciful toward their iniquity, and I will remember their sins no more. And speaking of a new covenant, he makes the first one obsolete, and what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away. Now, even the first covenant had regulations for worship and an early place of holiness. A tent was prepared, the first section, in which were the lampstand and the table and the bread of the presence. It is called the holy place. Behind the second curtain was the second section, called the most holy place, having the golden altar of incense and the ark of the covenant covered on all sides with gold, in which was a golden urn holding the manna, and Aaron's staff that budded, and the tablets of the covenant. Above it were the cherubim of glory overshadowing the mercy seat. Now of these things we cannot now speak in detail. These preparations having thus been made, the priests go regularly into the first section, performing their ritual duties. Into the second only the high priest goes, and he but once a year, and not without taking blood, which he offers for himself and for the unintentional sins of the people. This the Holy Spirit indicates that the way into the holy places is not yet open, as long as the first section is still standing. According to this arrangement, gifts and sacrifices are offered that cannot perfect the conscience of the worshipper, that deal only with food and drink, that various washings, regulations for the body imposed until the time of Reformation, when Christ appeared as a high priest of the good things that had come, and through the greater and more perfect hand, he entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of his own blood, thus securing an eternal redemption. For if the blood of goats and bulls, and the sprinkling of the other persons with the ashes of the heifer, sanctify for the purification of the flesh, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit for himself without blemish to God, purify our conscience from the dead works to serve the living God. Therefore he is the mediator of a new covenant, so that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, since the death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant. For where will is involved, the death of the one who made it must be established. For a will takes effect only at death, since it is not in force as long as the one who made it is alive. Therefore, not only even the first covenant was inaugurated without blood, but when every commandment of the law has been declared by Moses to all the people, he took the blood of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the covenant that God commanded for you. And in the same way he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and all the vessels used in worship. Indeed, under the law, almost everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood there is no forgiveness of sins. Thus it was necessary for the copies of the heavenly things to be purified with these rites, but the heavenly things themselves have better sacrifices than these. For Christ has entered not into holy places made with hands, but which are copies of true things, into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. Nor was it to offer himself repeatedly, as the high priest enters the holy places every year with blood, not his own. Nor then he would have had to suffer repeatedly since the foundation of the world. Now as it is, he will ever appear. He has appeared once for all at the end of the ages, to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And just as it is appointed for men to die once, and after that comes judgment, so Christ, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time, not to deal with sin, but to save those who are eagerly waiting for him. Proverbs 15. soft answer turns away wrath, but harsh words does anger. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of fools pours out folly. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch over the evil and the good. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. The fool despises his father's instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, not so the hearts of fools. Not a fool. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is acceptable to him. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, and he loves him who pursues righteousness. There is severe discipline for him who forsakes the way. Whoever hates reproof will die. The law and a ban lie open before the Lord. How much more the hearts of the children of men? The scoffer does not like to be reproved. He will not go to the wise. A glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the soul is crushed. The heart of him who is understanding sees no, but the mouth of fools feed on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful of heart has a continual feast. There is a little with fear of the Lord, and great treasure and trouble with it. The man is sitting in a house of lovers, and they find ox and hatred with it. A hot-tempered man is distress, but he who is slow to anger quiets content. The way of sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a level highway. A wise son makes a glad father, and a foolish man decides his mother. What is a joy to him who lacks sense, but a man of understanding will straight hair. Without counsel plans fail, but with many advice they succeed. To make an apt answer is a joy to a man, and in a word and season how good it is. The path of life leads uproad for the prudent, that he may turn away from trouble beneath. The Lord tears down the house of the proud, but maintains the widow's boundaries. And the thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord. The gracious words are pure. Whoever is grieved for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked puts out evil things. The Lord is far from the wicked, when he hears the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and good news refreshes the bones. The ear that listens to life-giving reproof will dwell among the wise. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence. The fear of the Lord is instruction and wisdom, and humility comes before honor. Psalm 83. O God, do not keep silence. Do not hold your peace, or be still. O God, for behold, your enemies make an uproar. Those who hate you have raised their heads. They lay crafty plans against your people. They consult together against you, treasure once. They say, come, let's wipe them out as a nation. Let the name of Israel be remembered no more. For they conspire with one accord. Against you they make a covenant. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab and the Hagrites, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, Philistia with the inhabitants of Tyre, Asher as their sojourner. They are the stronghold of the children of Lot. Do to them as you did to me, as to Sisera and Jabin, the river Kishon, who destroyed Endor, who became dung for the ground. Make their neighbors like Orb and Zeb, and all their princes like Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, let us take possession for ourselves who of the pastures of God. O my God, make them burn like whirling dust, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the fire, as the flame sets the mountains ablaze, so that you may pursue them with your tempest, and terrify them with your hurricane. Heal their faces with shame, that they may see your name, O Lord. Let them be put to shame and dismayed forever. Let them perish in disgrace, that they may know that you alone, whose name is the Lord, are the most high over all the earth. Now does not nation, now do the Lord's prayer. Please bow your heads, O Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we receive again our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.